Hey everybody, welcome to Princess of Gay. Stuttered there a little bit. Welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here to begin reading the Lackadaisy comic book. And sorry if you heard that little beep beep. um, but yeah, so this is a donation reward for Sweet Venom. And yeah, we are gonna begin reading the comic for Lackadaisy. We reacted to the pilot for the animated series on the channel, and now we're going on to this, I guess. We don't do comic reactions on this channel normally, and the reason for such is simply because I'm not a big comic reader. I typically am not a huge fan of the medium. I think it's just not that entertaining to me. Um, as a whole, it's just kind of a boring medium. And most of the comics and manga I've read, I don't tend to feel anything towards. Um, even for even for stuff that I like in other media, like One Piece, for example. I watch One Piece, that shit can make me cry like crazy. I read the same scenes in One Piece, nothing. Um, Robin's I Want to Live line, for example. Every time I watch that, no matter how many times in a row I watch it, it always makes me cry. But it has never once made me cry reading it. And I can't fully explain why. I can't explain why it just doesn't elicit emotion from me. Why I don't care. um, it's not something that I understand. But that has always been the case. And there's been some comics I've read that I've gotten some enjoyment out of, like the first couple Legend of Korra comics. I've only read the first couple. And a couple MLP ones, but not even all the MLP ones I've read. So it's like, it's always just kind of up in the air for me. But I'm gonna give this a shot because I'm willing to try. I'm willing. There might be a comic out there that I end up really enjoying. I mean, I can tell you right now, there's a comic I really enjoy. It's called Rock Cocks, and yes, judging on the name, it is an adult comic. Has a lot of nudity in it, a lot of nudity and sex in it. Um, but I don't like it just because of that either. It's like I actually genuinely like the characters, and I actually do get into the story. And it's one of the few times that has ever happened with me with a comic. So yeah. But yeah, so just to reiterate my thoughts on the pilot for Lackadaisy, I didn't like it. I felt it was all style and no real substance. And I know that's an unpopular opinion, considering everybody seemed to love it. But I couldn't get into it. I tried. I gave it a fair chance, but I couldn't get into it. I didn't find it entertaining. I felt the characters were confusing and lacked real depth or character. I felt like the story was barely there, and it was more focused on the style of the 1920s and everything. It just didn't feel like it was cohesive. It felt like it's like, okay, we're gonna get this style of the 1920s down, and we're not gonna put any effort into the actual story or characters or anything else. That's what it felt like to me. And I compared it to the Hell of a Boss pilot, and clearly not in a positive way, because I didn't like the Hell of a Boss pilot either, for kind of a lot of the same reasons. Um, but yeah, it's just I just couldn't get into it. But maybe the comic does it better. Maybe the comic's pacing and storytelling is better. I don't know. Um, Now, the entire comic is available apparently as of current in 3 volumes on the website, lackadaisy.com. Today, we are going to be doing the 3 chapters that are just listed as Introduction 1, 2, and 3. We're going to just be starting slow with that and kind of going from there. If we do any more, In the future, I don't know. I can't say at this point. It depends on my thoughts after this. Also, I'm probably not going to do any voices or anything, um, if for no other reason than just because I'm bad at that kind of thing. But also, I would be terrible trying to do the accent. So I'm not really going to do any voices. I'm just going to read, and it might not even be that great for a reaction. It might end up being boring as a reaction for you guys. And I want you to be honest with me and let me know if it is, because it's like that could be an issue with reading comics as a reaction as well. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. So, all of that being said, we're going to get into this. This is going to be redirected like everything else, even though it's a comic. It's going to be redirected still, just to keep safe. Just to keep safe. I'll also probably have a little background music playing, just so it's not just me talking. In which case, I probably have my headphones on just for that. But yeah, either way, we're going to get this going and hope for the best. Maybe it'll prove me wrong. Maybe I'll end up liking this one. But let us get this going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the first 3 chapters of this comic. So, thank you all so much for tuning in, and for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. First off, though, hopefully by the next time we do this, I'll have maybe a better format where I can read it better or something. I don't know. But it's like I was definitely having trouble reading a lot of this. I had to lean in really far a lot of the time. Like I said in the reaction, I could probably read it better if I had it full screen, but that would mean that I couldn't have OBS open and visible, which could cause problems in case there's lag or anything that I need to check on. In case my camera dies, I might not be able to tell right away. So yeah, I want to make it clear that I'm going to try to figure something out, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I just wish most of the pages had bigger text, and maybe not so much text in some cases. But anyway, so let's talk about this. So, how many did we read? Let me see how many we read today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we read the first 8 pages. And in these first 8 pages, in the first 3, really, it gives us a better look into the story and world of this than the pilot did in its entire runtime. It's, like I said in the reaction, really shocking and kind of disappointing to see that this comic actually started out so well and the pilot just did not capture that at all is really disappointing. You don't get almost any of the information you got from those first 3 pages. You don't get almost any of that from the actual pilot. And it sucks. And then everything after that, the next 5 pages, centers around this character. It didn't say his name. Excuse me. So I actually still don't know his name. But the character who Michael Kovac played in the pilot. It's centering around him arriving for a pickup and everything, or to discuss a pickup, and getting attacked by these rivals who prepare to have him run over by a train and everything. So, yeah. But he ends up escaping, and from what we can see in the next page, before I decided to call it, um, he ended up getting, how do I put it? He got back to the speakeasy and he got away completely. I presume they didn't follow him there. So all seems to be good. Um, but yeah, this already just introduces things a lot better. The art and paneling has a lot of work to be done for sure. Um, it's very clear this is when it was first starting out and everything. There are some pages with just too much damn dialogue on them. You just do not need that much, and they're very the dialogue is very small and hard to read, at least in the way I'm reading it. And there's just too much, you know. Um, and I feel like when there's shots that have a lot of characters in them, it all kind of blends together in a very rough way. Like especially during the introduction pages, there was a lot of shots where it was just a bunch of characters all in one panel, and it was a mess. It looked like a mess. It was hard to properly visualize. Like, and I've read manga that has had panels with a lot of characters and a lot of information in them, and they've been done better. That's the thing. You can do that and make it seem like readable. This definitely needs some work, and they probably get better with that over time. There's 3 volumes and quite a lot to go through, so. Um, but yeah, I'm just genuinely kind of curious as to exactly how it is going to go and everything. Um, I guess we would have to see. But yeah, so just first impressions on this. Like I said, it's better done than the pilot was. It gives us a lot more information than the pilot. As for just the experience of reading it as a comic and everything, it's not the worst. I've obviously read a lot of comics and manga and stuff, and like I said, most of them just don't do it for me at all. This one is just kind of in the middle right now. It's like it's not really eliciting much of anything from me, um, other than just comparing it to the pilot and seeing how much better handled it is in terms of the story and everything. Um, so it's more about that than anything else. But that's all it's really eliciting from me. It's not like the first couple of Legend of Korra comics, which actually are probably the only comics that really, really made me like outside of Rock Cox, the only comics that really like worked for me. Those and Rock Cox are probably the best comics I've read in that regard because they're the only ones that really actually get emotion out of me. Um, but yeah, this was just kind of in the middle for me in terms of just reading experience. Um, I there's been a lot worse, but because of having the pilot to compare it to, that does give me at least a little bit of interest factor in reading it just for comparison's sake. If I had read this before seeing the pilot, I probably wouldn't continue past here. The fact that I have the context of the pilot to compare to is what is giving this more for me to be invested in, I guess you could say. Um, but yeah, I want to go quickly back to one of these. I think it was Introduction 2. Yeah. So in Introduction 2, it shows like Atlas's group of people and everything prior to Atlas's death and all. It shows him there. It shows the Russian guy who becomes the bartender. And again, it shows the one cat who I think is Sungwon Cho's character. It looks like him, at least in terms of design, even though he's only shown from the side. It does look like him. And when it's talking about, when it's showing like the patrons coming inside and everything with their lapel pins and all, the one guy there does look like the guy who was at the bar in the pilot. So, and it definitely implied that Sungwon Cho's character in the pilot did have a past with maybe these other characters. It did imply that there was something to that. I think one of the people he was with in the car mentioned something about it, like you're not gonna let your past like control you or something like that. And then at the end of the pilot, he ended up letting them go, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if I think that's him, and I think this is his like secret past that was hinted at. But yeah, so it could have been worse. I will give it that. We'll continue to check it out for now. If I ever feel like it's just not working, or if I ever feel like it just ends up being too boring in terms of entertainment factor, we'll probably stop it at that point. But if it does end up surprising me and working, then we'll continue. It's not going to be a consistent thing. Just like with YouTube reactions, this will be just an occasional thing. Whenever I feel like getting to it. Just because I don't really have a way to make it consistent with everything else I have to record and all. And with other stuff I want to do. It just, when not recording. So yeah, it's going to be an occasional type of video, just whenever I end up getting to it. And we'll take it from there. But in the meantime, tell me what you thought of these first 8 pages of the Lackadaisy comic. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.